This is the Unstarving Musician podcast. I'm your host, Robonzo. The podcast features conversations with me, indie music artists, and industry professionals, and it's all intended to help other indie music artists be better at marketing, business, the creative process, and all the other things that empower us to do more of what we love. Make music. Boys and girls, ladies and gents, thanks for joining me for another episode. In this episode, singer-songwriter Anna Larson joins me to share her passion for music, storytelling, and beauty, and a lot more. I found her in my inbox one day not long ago. We actually recorded this conversation the 23rd of October this year, 2021, not too long ago. I'm starting to kind of get caught up with the backlog of pre-recorded episodes. Anna sent me a textbook pitch by email asking if I'd be interested in having her on the podcast. So we talk about that and, again, a lot more. I want to share, real quick, a listener email from blues drummer George Brandow. He's an email subscriber and supporter of this podcast and a very nice guy. Anyway, in my last email to the Unstarving Musician community, I talked about making time for our art, putting in the work and loving our craft like craftsmen and craftswomen and craftspeople. George liked that, and here are some thoughts he shared with me that I would like to share with you. George says, each instrument has a voice in the conversation, which we call a song. Too many voices at once can really make the conversation too much for the ears. I'll never forget, George says, a jam I attended once. I watched guitarist after guitarist get up and play as many notes as they could. Then an unknown face in the room got up and played the most simple lead, melodic, tasty, and exquisite, and very few notes. I went up to him afterwards and complimented his extremely silky style. I said, "You're not from around here." He smiled and said he was from Nashville and just flew in for a recording session and was leaving in the morning. That happened in the San Francisco Bay Area, probably in San Jose or the South San Francisco Bay Area. That story. Thanks, George. And yes, less is more. So Anna Larson has been playing piano since childhood. She has a music degree from UT Austin, University of Texas at Austin. Worked as a piano teacher and in theater production, sound and lighting, and performing. Lately, she's taken to learning the marketing aspects of music. She actually enrolled in a course for that, which we talked a little bit about. I enjoyed that. And she's having fun merging video with her music. I suspect that's something she's done for a while, but we talk about that too. I found it very interesting and inspiring. She was really fun to speak with. She uses her hands a lot. Hopefully I'll put the Zoom video out for it because she gets me talking with my hands as well. I most enjoyed learning how she started incorporating video and sound bites into her music, specifically with Cocoon, her latest project. She recorded Cocoon much how I did my recent songs, so that was fun, kind of home recording and just the way she put it all together. She considers herself a writer of stories, and maybe above all the other things, she is musician, artsy person, video making person. We discussed her email family, too, and why and how she champions that over Facebook. We chat about the mass exodus to Austin from the San Francisco Bay Area and elsewhere, and merging her passions for writing with music. You can check out all of Anna's stuff at annalarsonmusic.com, and that's Anna with 2 N's. And without further ado, here is me and Anna Larson. Hey, Anna Larson, can you hear me?
Hey, yeah, I can.
Hey, how
Roberta.
are you? Hold
I'm
on a second.
good.
I'll come on camera here.
Okay, cool. Hi.
Nice
How are you?
piano.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, this is my my everything room. So I guess when I turn on my camera, it's no secret. You got your drums behind you, so it's no secret what either one of us. That looks great.
Inexpensive acoustic back there. I'm not sure you can see
it. Yeah. No, and what you can't see is on the other side of this room in front of me is my son. He's a teenager and he plays drums, and so I actually share this room with a drum kit as well. So there's all kinds of it's a small room and you have to fit everything in. So you got to get creative about where everything goes.
Well, See a guitar hanging off the wall or something over there. It's nice.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it.
Yeah.
It's better than the unmade bed in the background.
Yes. I think during this whole work from home thing, that's been my husband's lot in life. He was like, maybe I could just come in your studio, and I was like, but it's my studio. You can't. Like, but it looks so much nicer, and I'm like, sorry, it's my. I've claimed it long ago. You're just jumping on the work at home train, so you get the unmade bed.
Well, imagine you going, go clean your shit up and use your own.
Yeah, that's right. Make your own corner. Get your own wall art and make your own corner. So yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Cool. Well, hey, let's just roll. I like the way this is
Yeah,
going already. So
yeah,
I know you've done this
totally.
kind of thing before. I saw you. Looks like you've been on our mutual friend Brian Wolf's podcast. He actually has
Yes.
a new Unstarving Musician episode out this
Oh,
morning.
cool. Well, then I'm gonna go listen to that later on today. Then that'll be
Oh, well,
cool.
cool. That would be very nice.
Yeah,
He's a fun guy. I think
yeah.
he maybe as of today might
Uh-huh.
hold the torch for being on the podcast the most times.
Oh, he's the winner. He's the winner.
Quite possibly. He's
Awesome.
got to at least be
Awesome.
in a tie.
Yeah.
So so
Cool.
thank you for reaching out the way you did. I for
Yeah.
those for you kids that are listening, I know not all of you have this figured out. Some of you do, so forgive me, but you sent this textbook inquiry by email, and I'm not even, I don't know, I think I probably mentioned, I'm not even booking interviews really officially. And
Oh, I didn't know that.
I probably didn't bother to mention, but let me just read something here. I thought it was really great.
Oh,
So
okay.
you said, I'm an Austin, Texas-based singer-songwriter. Talked a little bit about what you do. I have listened to your podcast for a while, and I really enjoyed the recent episode with my friend Abe Partridge.
It's true.
Points for that. And then you closed with, you're likely receiving a lot of new music with so many artists finding themselves with unexpected time to create, also grappling with how the pandemic is impacting us. I'd love a chance to chat with you about my project. Would you be able to consider an interview with me for a future episode? That was really lovely.
Oh, well, I did not expect to get to hear my email. You write an email to someone and you send it away and it just does whatever it needs to do. I'm glad you appreciated that because I think like what we're doing is communication. Whether we're like writing a message like that to somebody or reaching out to our fans or writing a song or whatever it is. It's all about communication
Yeah, for sure.
at the end of the day.
I
So.
was listening to this great story this morning on another podcast about the mayor of Miami, who's apparently very Bitcoin or crypto friendly, has posted a
Oh,
crypto white paper on the government website there, which is kind of a
okay.
big deal to just say, hey, we're
Yeah.
sort of entertaining the ideas here.
Wow.
And the particular story they were telling is of San Francisco's
Uh-huh.
city mayor, I guess, who had told Elon Musk on Twitter to, F you. And he said, message received on Twitter. And he left,
Wow.
and they were just comparing, the two and
Yeah.
criticizing San Francisco, of course. And one of the people on there had spent years in San Francisco. So as my wife and I we
Uh-huh.
were in the Bay Area for 17 years. But anyway, yes, communication, right? Very important.
Communication. And as a side note, Elon Musk is now a citizen of my fair city.
Hmm.
So I don't know what that's saying about Austin. We'll try to help educate him a little bit. Maybe I'm not sure if that's possible, but we'll try.
He seems like an okay guy. He's different for sure. But yeah, a lot of people
It's okay.
fleeing to Austin and areas of Texas over the past. Like I really started noticing 4 to 5 years ago, and I saw a couple of people, well-known people, and I'm like, that's telling.
Mhm.
And then now,
I've been here a long time. I'm from Texas. I'm a native Texan. I didn't grow up in the Austin area. I grew up in North Texas. In
me too.
Austin. Yeah, awesome. Where are you from? In
Fort
North Texas?
Worth.
Oh man, I'm from like South Dallas.
Okay.
Like the Duncanville,
Yeah.
Oak Cliff area is
Yeah.
where I'm from.
Down the
But
I-20.
yes,
Oh, up
that's
the I-20.
crazy. Yeah, or the I-20. It's a big road. It goes a long way, so you could go any number of directions on that road. But I've been in Austin. I went to college here, and so I've been here since the mid '90s, um, and I've realized that's long enough to see a lot of changes,
Heck yeah.
and I guess it kind of creeps up on you, how things are morphing and evolving over time, and then after a while you realize, oh, I've achieved that, not I'm not going to claim the old Austinite status, but I've achieved I've unlocked a new level. I think I'm maybe a veteran Austinite. Maybe I can say
Yeah,
that.
totally. You're at
Yeah.
that stage now where you
Yeah.
could rightfully say, you know what, this place has gotten too damn
Yeah.
crowded. I'm out of here.
I could, but I love it here. And honestly, that's kind of what this new project that I have is kind of about, is, the place that I live, but really specific, like my
Yeah.
my postage stamp corner of the world. But I love it here. My deep roots in all of the various creative endeavors that I've been involved in over the years, and a lot of those people that I've collaborated with are still here, and there's always new people to meet here. There's so many. I mean, there's creative people wherever you go. I like to think that a lot more people are inherently creative than give themselves credit.
Yeah,
You know,
I
you
believe
know,
that as well.
you
I'm always
know.
having to convince my wife of that. She doesn't think she
There's
has a creative bone in her body.
Oh man, I mean, part of what I do, aside from, writing music and playing music, is teaching music. I've been teaching piano for a gazillion years,
Wow.
about as long as I've been in Austin, honestly. Um, and there's, so I see all that raw creative potential in all people of all kind of ages. A lot of little people,
Yeah.
but also a lot of not so little people, and older people. So it's there. Everyone's got something that they can delve into. You know.
Yeah, I think some people just kind of yet to discover or acknowledge or realize, what their creative niche is or
Yeah.
potential is. So
or
crazy.
recognize the things that they or the recognize the way they do things, or recognize certain things as
Yeah.
being creative, like the way they, I don't know, organize their kitchen cabinets, or I don't know, anything
It can
anything
be.
can be, I think so,
It-
anyways.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
do you know Abe Partridge, by the way? You mentioned that in your email.
We met in a songwriting group.
Okay.
We were in the same songwriting group, which was mainly a lot of Austin artists, but there were people in this group from all over the place. And I am not sure how Abe got into that circle. I think it was another, like, Austin artist who, all those kind of connections. And I really, really, his music really resonated with me,
Yeah.
and his story resonated with me, and so that's how we met. But like, he's played a house concert at my house,
Oh, wow.
and we've played together, me with my band, the Wheelwrights, and we all played a show at the Cactus Cafe. um, I've played in Mobile, Alabama, a couple times.
Wow.
Abe and I played a show together in that area one time also. So yeah, I mean, he's just someone that I think he's an interesting, creative. I love creative people. I love people that are curious, and not afraid to poke around in the dark corners
Yeah.
and
And
see
Abe
and
does that.
see. Yeah, yeah. But I mean, it's, you got to do a little mining of oneself. I think that's a good thing to
Yeah.
do, or at
He,
least the world around you too.
for sure. Yeah, he is
Um,
interesting. In fact, there are a few conversations I've had on the podcast that just,
mhm.
and I'm almost at 200 published episodes for this
Uh huh.
podcast,
Uh huh.
and so it's a lot of conversations. But there are a few of them that stick out in my mind because of a story that came out in them, and his
Mhm.
is definitely one of them.
He's an interesting dude. He really is.
He
But
totally is.
like, I've met. I think especially when he came and played a show in my house, because I mean, I haven't done a lot of things in the last year, but I went through a phase, year, maybe two, I guess it's like 2.5 years ago or so, when I was really trying to host a concert in my own home. I love playing house concerts, and I have this idea of all the things that I do as a musician, or as a, I keep using the word creative, but as you know, it's all one thing. So in my home, you know, I'm teaching here in this room that I'm in. I'm writing, rehearsing a lot of times. It's just it feels like a hub for a lot of things.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, you know, having hosting performances is is the natural, you know, extension of that too. So I kind of see this place, you know, my home as like the nexus of a lot of things, you know,
Yeah.
the center of a hopefully some overlapping universes. That's what I'm going for, you know. I guess I'm on my path to world domination.
I think there's a conference for that, so you can figure it out and get it nailed in.
Okay,
Dialed
okay,
in.
okay. Yeah. But I mean, that's how I see it. It's also interconnected. All of the different hats that I wear, they kind of all feel like the same thing, you know. I
Yeah,
don't
sure.
have a big, you know what I mean, separation of one type of me versus, you know, another. It's all kind of in the same big cauldron. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That's cool. That's a good way to
Yeah.
look at it. Let's talk
Yeah.
about Cocoon, your latest project.
Yes.
It's so interesting to see you position it like in your email again, going back to
Mhm.
that. A collection of 7 original songs with accompanying film,
Yes.
some archival footage. So what was, is this the first time you've done something like this, and what was the inspiration?
Well, okay, so I've always dabbled in creating videos, and I would by no means call myself a filmmaker, because the people who actually are filmmakers, you know, they that's I have so much respect for that craft and that art. But I've always kind of dabbled in I just like I like visual things. I'm not a visual artist, like as far as, you know, painting on a canvas or drawing or sculpting, but I have a history of working in live theater,
Mm,
and that, you know, is a visual art form, with color, and I've done like lighting design work, and I've done sound design, and script, you know, writing scripts and things like that. So to me, a video is kind of in that world for
mm-hmm.
me.
Mm-hmm.
And so it makes sense to have a really specific image that goes with, you know, any sort of musical creation. So I've always liked doing that just for sort of for individual songs for quite a while. But for this project, I think the way it sort of like snowballed from, I wrote a song, and then I thought, let me follow this. And so then I had a whole bunch more songs, and these were all new things that were written during the pandemic also.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what brought it from just writing songs to, what if I had found sound? What if I had all these non-musical elements? What if I had a whole visual world? Really was something kind of simple. Was I was writing one of the songs for the album. It's the one that's the last track on the album. It's called Again. And I had my phone plunked on my piano, and I was just, you know, like messing around like you do when you're first writing something, and it was just using the voice recorder.
Mm-hmm.
And my kids were in the backyard, playing, and the voice recorder picked up all of their rowdiness from on the other side of the window. And so when I listened back, it was like the song, but you had all these far away sounds, and that's kind of what crystallized it for me. And so then I went down the rabbit hole of, looking for imagery that fit those non-musical sounds. And so I was, you know, wandering around my yard with my phone, just looking for things that were cool, and just really like the repository of you know, public use things that are out there in the public domain. um, Old like footage from the early 1900s of
Mm-hmm.
just people. I'm really interested, I've visited the public domain project, which is, there's a, I guess it's a company called Pond 5, and they do a lot of stock video, but they also have this archival footage thing that's full of like World War II stuff and NASA and um 1950s PSA like real type things and there's like home movies, people's old home movies and things like that. And I'm really interested in just normal people doing normal stuff from way back when,
Yeah.
because it resonates with me, I guess. To see some of the footage that I had was people in the early 1900s just walking along boardwalk or walking down the street or things like that. And those people aren't here anymore, and it's just so wild to see them just walking down the street, just living their lives kind of like we do. And I guess it's sort of connected with the group of songs, because I felt like this group of songs was like a time capsule to
Mm-hmm.
me.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of all the big forces in the world happening outside of my little protective home bubble, and I had this idea of it sort of like filtering in, all of the layers of our culture, all of our Americanness, um sort of filtering through that moment of like, I'm just, you know in one spot,
Yeah.
sort of watching it happen. And so sounds of even like the traffic going down the street that's kind of farther away from me, and I wasn't driving anywhere, but somebody was going somewhere.
Yeah.
And so like little things like that all played a part in what I was writing in the songs, and what images and what sounds I was choosing to bring to that too. So I really just, I mean, just got completely immersed. And so I hope when people listen to it or watch it, they'll get that same feeling of just being immersed in a moment in time, or in a universe. Not just listen to a song and then let me hear what the next song is and skip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting, or it's nice that it would lend itself to the way music is being presented, even
Hmm.
on some of the streaming services, or maybe especially on some of the streaming services where you'll have some video
Hmm.
component to it, not necessarily a
Hmm.
full length video. And I'm
Yeah.
occasionally caught a little by surprise, pleasant surprise at some of the things
Hmm.
that get put out there. But that's
Yeah.
I like it. So you created your songs, you
Hmm.
started recording some sounds, and then
Hmm.
you did a little bit of video, and then you went and found some archival video, and you kind of just put all
I've
this stuff
mixed it
together.
all together. When I make videos, and I really, and to be honest, I have a hard time saying the word when I make a film. That sounds very serious. That sounds like I need to have like a degree on the wall stating that I've learned how to make a film. But when I make these videos, it feels like a collage to me. And
Hmm.
understand, I am using, seriously, just boilerplate iMovie on my Mac. My computer is so exhausted after this last year of making all of these things, because so all the music I recorded and tracked at home. 100% of this was done by me at home. The only things that were not done by me were, I did some remote collaboration with my drummer Mikey Best,
Hmm.
and my dear friend Britton Beisenhertz, who runs a fantastic studio in Austin called Ramble Creek Recording.
Hmm.
He mixed it, but um, all of the um, all of the placement of the non-musical sounds, that's all me. I mixed it, and then he like mixed it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
The video stuff is like a collage to me, and that's kind of how I felt when I was placing the sounds in the music as well. um so it's sort of like I don't really have a storyboard. I don't have anything concrete like that. I'm just listening to the songs and sort of thinking about what images, even if they're fleeting images, the timing of
Hmm.
when something can unfurl in a longer way, and just taking little bits of ephemera and changing it to suit my needs.
It's a little
That's
bit of chaos, it sounds like.
Yeah, it is, but it's my chaos.
Yeah.
So I know how to manage it. I know how to whenever I first started doing that, I think the first video that I created like that, where I discovered I kind of got into these repositories of public domain stuff when I was doing sound design in theater,
Hmm.
because sometimes, like, I remember I needed a sound. We needed to have a sound cue that was the sound of somebody's head getting chopped off,
Oh.
and I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'm gonna let me like sure I can do that, And so I started poking around on the internet, and this is like uh, maybe like 2010 or something like that, and or maybe even earlier. And you find things like, wow, uh, 50 people have put up a little sound recording of them smashing a watermelon with the label, this could work for the sound of someone's head getting chopped off. So there anything, any little bit of, if you think, oh, what if I had this, whether it's an image or a sound or something like that, you can, it's and I just kind of geek out over stuff like that,
Yeah,
over.
it's very inspirational. I just published my second ever original, solo piece recently, and the first
Hmm.
one I had this aspiration to do a video, and we're under quarantine, and
Yeah.
was thinking I'd bring in a couple of or a actor.
Hmm.
I had a videographer, and we're going to do some on location stuff, and it becomes complicated very quickly.
Yeah, it
So I
does.
ultimately bailed on that, and then I just did a lyric video on it. I may go back to that idea sometime, but I've been
Yeah.
thinking, as I'm using this, I know we all have our voice recorders, which
Right.
serves very well.
It does.
Yeah, I've been into this collaboration app, which also happens to act like a voice recorder, but
Hmm.
you can organize stuff really well and collaborate with people.
Hmm.
But it's called
Hmm.
Tracked Music, and I've been
Uh-huh.
thinking I should just start recording stuff with that, just to learn the app a little better and capture
Hmm.
some sounds that I can maybe use. Let's see me talking with my hands again. What you've done to me.
Yeah.
I don't normally do this, but yeah,
I'm
I
a
love
bad
that.
influence.
Yeah, I had also heard about this idea of using archival or public domain footage for video from
Mhm.
Ezra Vancil, who is
Mhm.
in the Oak Cliff area, which I know you're
Oh,
familiar with.
okay.
Yeah, he's a wonderful songwriter, and he's done some really neat videos, and I just have not spent the time to do it yet. But like hearing what you did
Mhm.
and hearing you elaborate on the different pieces, very inspirational, and I hope
Well,
others
awesome.
think about doing it too.
I think it's very gratifying to test the waters of another branch of creativity. And I've been playing, I've been playing piano specifically literally my entire life.
Yeah.
It's just I can't separate it from myself. It's just part of me. And when you've spent that long in one pursuit, in one creative pursuit, at this point in life, it's just sort of amazing to discover, oh, here's something else that's
Yeah.
like
Right.
it's really different, and I don't suck at this, and maybe I should do some more of this. I don't know. It's just a good thing to push yourself to do something that you've never done.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it. And I don't. You were talking about bringing in actors and things like that. I only have maybe like one, maybe a couple videos that actually have me in it
Uh-huh.
doing anything, because I'm just so into this idea of kind of like abstract. It's kind of like abstract art. I mean, it is, but it's not,
Hmm. Hmm.
because there's definitely a concrete images and
Yeah.
reasons why I have them in certain places and not others. Um, but I just really like that. Um, it's I can't paint a painting,
Yeah.
maybe
Sure.
maybe I can. Maybe I just said I should try new things, maybe one day.
Exactly.
Maybe that'll be 20 years from now. That's what I'll be ready to branch out. But
You can probably just spend an afternoon with Abe while he's working on his
yeah,
painting, get some
yeah,
inspiration. But
yeah.
I can relate so much and to this idea. First of all, of that you'd been doing this one thing for so long, and suddenly you're like, oh, I think I'm
Mhm.
gonna look at this other avenue of creativity.
Yeah.
That I was reading about this on your website, and
Hmm.
I thought, well, that's what happened to me basically, and I've been just a gigging drummer,
Mhm.
sometimes singer forever, and had
Mhm.
just been thinking about, yeah, I really should record some original music with some of these people I've worked with in the past.
Mhm.
And anyway, then yeah, just suddenly I'm like, okay, let me just try and write something. So it worked. It's working out so far.
Talking about songwriting as a new avenue, I that's kind of I because I spent I mean I didn't start writing original music until I mean I guess it's been maybe 10 years ago
Yeah.
now. I've only been writing, my own stuff and really putting a lot of energy into that for really the last, I would say like 8 to 10 years. And before that, like I said, I'm a lifelong pianist, and I'm also a lifelong writer.
Hmm.
I'm one of those people that even when I was a little bitty kid, writing poems and writing a book. I remember like I wrote something and I wrote out a gajillion copies on my own and like stapled them and handed them to the family members. And they're like, oh, this is cute. But I've always had those two streams. Like I'm playing music over here and then I'm writing some stuff over here. But never the two shall meet. And I don't know why that was, but it was.
Yeah.
And the further that I got into piano and when I realized that I wanted to have something that would well, I mean, I knew that I was going to do something like I was never going to grow up and be an accountant. You know what I mean? Like that was never going to be my path. And music afforded me the path to go to like into higher education. And if it hadn't been for piano, that would not have been an option for me at all.
Mm.
Um, so the further I got into that pursuit, which was classical piano, right? Like when you go to music school, it's serious business. You're
Yeah.
gonna play Beethoven and I love a lot of those things, but it took me away from the writing stuff.
Hmm.
And I think that a lot of that really serious classical piano study has served me so well in many, many ways. But I had to, at the end of that, sort of let things settle out for a while to really figure out what I don't know, was meant to do is kind of a big, heavy phrase, but um, to be able to be ready to write songs and sort of bring the two things together. I think I needed maybe a little bit longer time than most people
Well, and
to,
some people I imagine in your shoes and never quite get there. They kind
yeah,
of
but I
start off on
mean,
the path you did and keep going that way.
yeah, and some people are meant to be on that path, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just, even though there's so many things that I love about that type of music or playing that kind of music really it just always kind of felt like a shirt that you want it to look good or you want it to fit right but it just never does, like the sleeves or like the elbow is a little too tight or something like that, it just never, it was close but not quite, you
Yeah, yeah,
know so I it was just really I was so happy that I had the good sense to realize when I was in that moment of like, oh, I'm, I just wrote these songs. I wrote some songs for a theater production, and it was instrumental music. It was like incidental, scene change, underscoring all of the live theater stuff. And I did that and performed it live with the production. And then I was like, this is what I should have been doing all this time. What's Anna? Come on, Um, so I'm really thankful that that one time it worked out really well that I was paying attention,
yeah,
to being in the right moment at the right time, because it would have been pretty easy to miss that and go, oh, that was fun,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
just go back to whatever I had been doing before then. But I was able to kind of go, oh, this feels like I need more of this,
yeah. Good for you for
and be
recognizing it.
able to like follow that. So that changed my path. You know, that changed
Yeah,
my path for the better. For the better, I found the right path. I think.
awesome. I love it.
Yeah, yeah.
I really wanted to ask you about
Hmm.
something you did recently for your email list, your community, your email subscribers.
Uh huh.
I'm gonna read a little bit of something believe I scraped off your Facebook page.
Okay.
Just hoping you could talk about it because I think it
Okay.
would be helpful to me and
Okay.
or at least inspirational. But I think
Uh huh.
a lot of people would benefit from hearing
Okay.
the story behind it. But anyway, a post that said, "You guys, we made it halfway to our new email family member goal in one day. That's amazing. Why email, you ask? Simple. I want to talk to you directly without the algorithm getting in our way." And you go on to talk about it a little bit
Yeah.
more. Oh, tell me the story behind the campaign and how it went. And
Well, I'm still figuring out this whole I'm also I mentioned I was, not destined to be an accountant. I'm not sure that I intended on learning as much as I have about marketing. I didn't think that was I mean, I think like a lot of us, I have a love-hate relationship with social media. Um and I- I've had a lot of experience. Honestly, what led me to try to get more people to like, hey, let's come over here to an email list situation. And I know that like a lot of us have email fatigue. Also, that's a very real thing too.
sure.
But when I've been inspired by some music business, and this sounds so lame to say a music business class that I've been taking, but it's true. I've been inspired with a group where I've been learning a lot more about that. And the way I feel about an email family, an email group, is that if I send something directly to those people, like it's directly from me, it's something meaningful that I'm communicating to them, and I know it's going to get directly to them. I'm not going to have some corporation that is going to prevent the people who've said that they like what I'm doing
Hmm.
from hearing what I have to either say in prose form or a video or a song or whatever it is. So I wanted to be able to get in touch with people directly. And that's really the whole heart of that campaign, and encouraging people to join me in that format. When I released Cocoon, I did not do a Facebook live, public live, live streaming sort of thing.
Hmm.
I made it a private event for anybody that was on my email list
Yeah.
who had either pre-saved the album or had gone to Bandcamp and purchased the album there. And we had a online Zoom concert. And the idea behind like a live stream, like a social media thing, is like, oh, you could reach thousands of people. Well, you're not going to, because Facebook is going to suppress your live stream unless you're someone that's has way bigger, I don't know, social media influence than me. So the much smaller, not thousands of people, much smaller concert, and we had a watch party. We watched the whole visual album together. It was a much smaller group of people, but it was so much more gratifying because I, have a personal, connection with those people that were there. And since it's all about communication and connection, that's what I want to put my energy into. So I mean, Facebook is a tool that we all should learn how to use, but it's not. They don't have to have all of our art. Like
Yeah.
we don't have to put all of our very best, you know very best and most beautiful precious things there, because
Yeah.
they're not. And maybe they're going to shut my account down now, but
Ah.
but they don't value it like it needs to be valued.
Oh, they
They
value it.
Well, they want us to give them,
Content. Yeah.
yeah, it's not working in the correct direction,
Yeah.
that value. It's not a symbiotic relationship, you know what I mean? I feel like beauty beauty is what we need more beautiful things in this world. And I think that people recognize that, and it's something that they're craving, you know.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to get that to them and not have a paywall in between it from uh and I also had the experience of when I did start releasing the like sort of like did like a breadcrumb. I'd put out one song in video form from Cocoon,
Hmm.
and Facebook every single time muted it and slapped a copyright thing on me for sharing my own stuff.
Oh, wow.
And I've never been successful in getting it resolved. And so that also played a little part in me saying, thanks, but I'm gonna go over here now. So yeah, I mean, so I hope that people will agree with me, I guess, and come on board and come over to my little email family where I'm going to be, I'm trying to build that up and so that I can share. And I know Patreon's a huge thing. I'm not quite to the Patreon stage yet. We're going to build towards something. But that's what I'm, we're going to build something like that together. Because I think people need art and they need beautiful things in their lives, and I want to create that connection. I want to facilitate that however I can. Yeah.
Well, I think it's a great idea. It's very smart. I talked to a lot of wonderful artists, and some of them who are doing absolutely nothing on email, and then
Mm-hmm.
just having been around enough marketing people, one of the things I always remember is this idea that look, like Facebook is rented. It's like rented land, if you will. Your email list and your website, it's all yours.
Mm-hmm.
So when Facebook makes changes, it does, that will affect anything you do there, but your stuff you're in control of. You'll always
Mm-hmm.
have that.
Yeah.
And anyway, it's nice the way you put that together. The example you were giving with the Zoom watching party and
Yeah.
maybe some performing. It's really wonderful. A nice
Yeah.
thing to do. It gives all these things have been right in front of me as well, and I have an email list, and it gave me some neat ideas. I hope it did to others, and helps people realize who maybe aren't using email that sure there's some email fatigue, but there are people that don't even want to be on Facebook. So it's a great
Yeah.
way to get another
And
audience.
yeah, and I think there's more people that are kind of jumping ship or just looking for a better way. So, everything is changing all the time. And I just think that we have to be flexible, and we can't just accept that if we say, well, this is how it's done. Like, it's Facebook has only been around for just a few years. They're not going to be here forever.
Yeah.
But the things that we create, if you create something concrete, that piece of music or that visual art, whatever, poem, whatever it is, like that is a thing that's a real and solid thing. Even though
Absolutely.
as musicians, we're working in time, right? That's our medium, but we get to capture it in little 3-minute, 4-minute
Yeah.
bites too. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Well, I know everyone can find out all kinds of cool things about you at annalarsonmusic.com and Anna Larson
Yes.
Music on the socials.
Uh-huh.
Very nicely done all the way across the board. And
Oh, thanks.
I do, by the way, I appreciate and I guess admire that you talked about being in like a class for some of this stuff too. I'm actually doing the same thing right now with an artist that I met through the podcast. Actually, I watched
Mm-hmm.
her grow from a very beginning place to something
Mm-hmm.
very exciting, and
Mm-hmm.
so she's doing some things, and we've talked about email and various
Mm-hmm.
other online methods of
Mm-hmm.
marketing and making money and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. But it's all
Mm-hmm.
good stuff. I'm glad to hear that you were doing that, and I think others should think about doing it too.
Yeah, I think, change is something, right? Like that's we can always count on change. And education, if we don't continue to grow, not just in our art, but in, everything, we have to think big, and we have to build the systems that are going to help us to grow. So, educating myself on things that maybe I thought were like, "Ugh," like that, it doesn't have to be, because you have control over it. If it's sure it's marketing, but it's getting, meaningful things to people.
Yeah. Well, there's no point in making great music if nobody's going to hear it, right?
I feel like that. I it's kind of evolved. I used to think that, being a musician, it was okay to be a little bit like a monk in the monastery. There's people in monasteries that are out praying for the rest of the world so that I can just, watch Netflix and go to the grocery store and stuff like. They're taking care of it for me. I used to think, well, musicians, we're off in our corners playing and making, and that stuff is just going out, and that's helping everybody else. And that is true, but I would really like everybody else to participate in it with me,
Yeah.
It's much more fun.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Anna, it was a pleasure talking with you. Thank you
Yeah.
for reaching out, and
Yeah.
best of success with Cocoon and
Yeah.
all the other stuff
Thanks.
that you're into. I know we'll be in touch again when this does publish.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I really enjoyed chatting with you. It was really good to meet you too. Thanks for opening my email and
Of
reading
course.
it all the way through.
Yeah, the pleasure was all mine. You enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. You too.
I recently asked over 50 podcasters the following question: what's the number one reason that the startup of your podcast was delayed? Among the most common themes in their responses were fear, procrastination, and tech. What if I told you it doesn't have to be so hard? What if I gave you the confidence and tools you needed to start your podcast today? If you want to share expertise, dig deep into a special interest, help others, get more people to visit your blog, expand your personal brand, grow your network, then podcasting might be for you, and this course might be for you. Podcast Startup covers tech, which includes gear and software, hosting, editing, format options, marketing, and more. To learn more about this course created by yours truly and the Unstarving Musician, just go to unstarvingmusician.com/podcast startup. This episode was powered by Bandzoogle, the platform for musicians and bands to build their website and manage direct-to-fan marketing and sales. Bandzoogle features powerful design options, a commission-free store to sell music, merch, and tickets, detailed fan data, integrations with social networks, and more. Plans start at just $8.29 a month, which includes a free custom domain name. Try it at bandzoogle.com and use the promo code Robonzo, ROBONZO, to get 15% off your first year. That's bandzoogle.com, promo code Robonzo. This episode is also powered by ConvertKit. Remember the old days of collecting email addresses at the merch table with a notebook and pen? Now that notebook has gone digital, so you can promote your music everywhere and keep fans both old and new in the know. And you can do it with ConvertKit. Use landing pages designed for musicians to create an easy way to promote your next album, embed your music videos, and link out to social platforms and places to download music. Don't rent your audience, own it with an email list. Visit unstarvingmusician.com/convert to create your free account today. You'll be supporting the podcast in the process. Did you know you can help other independent artists find this podcast by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or wherever you are listening to your podcast these days? It really does help, so I hope you will consider it. The Unstarving Musician podcast is made possible through the support and generosity of listeners like you. One of the easiest ways to support the podcast, if you're a musician, is to join the Unstarving Musician community, which you can do at, you guessed it, unstarvingmusician.com. In joining the community, you get tips and insights you can use in your music journey that comes not only from me and my years of experience, but also from the hundreds of other musicians that I speak to as part of the Unstarving Musician project and podcast. Plus, you'll get a free copy of my Unstarving Musician's Guide to Getting Paid Gigs ebook, the official version, and that's all for free just for being part of the community. You can learn about other ways of offering support by visiting the Unstarving Musician crowd sponsor page at unstarvingmusician.com/crowd sponsor. And if you have feedback, please go to unstarvingmusician.com to get all my contact info. You can text me, call me, email me, leave a voice message right there on that page. Just go down to the bottom of the page and you'll find everything you need to know. I really would love to hear any of your comments, suggestions, questions, whatever you've got. And you can find links to just about everything talked about in this episode at unstarvingmusician.com/podcast. All right, I'm peacing out. Thank you for listening and sharing with your musician friends and fellow indie music fans. Peace, gratitude, and a whole lot of love.